Rappin with ReefBum is sponsored by Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine. Hey, what's happening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Rappin with ReefBum. I'm your host, Keith Berkelhamer. So, on today's live stream, I welcome back Jim Graham, who is also known as Telegraham. What's happening there, Jim?
Hey, Keith. Happy to be back. Thank you for having me. This is cool.
Yeah, it's always fun, man, having you on and talking reef and talking about a whole bunch of other stuff related to reef keeping, namely equipment. But we're gonna be digging pretty deep into that stuff, I'm sure.
Cool.
So, just for those of you that don't know Jim, he has his own YouTube channel, and he's also on Instagram with over 6,000 followers. And he's been a reef keeping hobbyist for 10 years now, Jim. You say?
Yep, a little over 10.
A little over 10. So, yeah, all right. So I reference equipment. Jim likes to take stuff apart, study build quality to better understand how things function. So he's operated on a number of products from GHL, Neptune, and some other manufacturers. The data from his tests have yielded some very unique and unbiased insights. So some more background on Jim. He's retired Air Force. Thank you for your service there, Jim. Formerly assigned to the KC-135 aerial refueler, the B-2 stealth bomber, and the YAL-1A Airborne Laser.
Yep.
And additionally, Jim appreciates kind people and is a fan, surprise, surprise, of technology. Shocker. So before we start digging in with Jim, I want to thank the sponsors of the show, both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine. I really appreciate these companies supporting the show in the live stream, and I also appreciate all you folks out there tuning in and joining the stream. I see there's a bunch of you already in the chat. Thank you for joining us. Comments and questions are always welcome. Don't forget to hit the like button, right? Got to hit that like button. Got to get the likes up. Got almost 50 people now, only 14 likes. We got to goose that number up. And while you're at it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. That'd be really cool. So, Jim, man, I've perusing your YouTube channel. I know you haven't been doing live streams lately. What's going on, man? Is that
yeah? I took a little break.
Hiatus?
I found myself getting a little hung up in the negativity aspects And I don't know why. It was kind of reeling me in and making me a little angry. So I decided to take a break, focus more on Instagram for a little bit. What? Reef Beef. And that was cool. Back on with you. I think this is my third time with you, and maybe it's been a year since the last time we were here. So, but I'm working on it. I'll get back. I have some stuff to talk about.
Moki's out there. What's happening there, Moki? Inappropriate reefer. We gonna where's Remy, man? I want to get the little super chat war going with Remy again. You know, that was pretty cool last time.
Yeah, you got the Maryland twofer, don't you? Because you had Moki on last week.
That's right. I don't know how it worked out. You guys back to back, but
yep.
It's my my good fortune here. So. Yeah, it's tough, man, in terms of doing live streams and stuff. And I could totally, hear what you're saying in terms of needing to take a break. And social media is not, it can be a bit of a grind. And sometimes you do need to take that reprieve and come back fresh and better than ever. So it's a cool kind of journey. And I guess when you have stuff to say, you'll come back, man. Right? Go live or don't go live, whatever the hell.
Yep. No, I got stuff to say. I just need to make sure it's the right stuff. What makes me happy, right? That's ultimately what I need to do is what's informative to people and then what makes me happy. Because if I'm not happy with it, then why am I going to do it?
No.
Like real life.
You don't need that angst. Hey, what's happening there, Amanda Meckley? Jim is making his rounds. Yes, he is. He is. So, dude, right, you said it's been about a year since you were on the live stream, and you've made some changes with the display tank, right? Walk us through that.
All right, I took down I had that 45-gallon cube attached to a 40 breeder. The 40 breeder was in the closet. Ultimately, this is the spouse's call. So my wife of 31 years, Lori, she says, now we're going to renovate the basement. I was like, well, all right. So she takes care of the lighting, she takes care of the painting, the prepping and all that stuff and painting. She says, now let's do the floors. So that meant the tanks needed to go. And I had a 90 cube. I still have it. It's in storage. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to set this tank up. Once we're done, I'll build a stand. And she's like, the basement looks too nice for that crap. You're not going to do that anymore. So I'm like, all right. She's like, go buy a tank. Innovative Marine had their sale, and that was relatively inexpensive. Beautiful tank. That's the IM100 EXT. Bought that thing. It showed up and put it together, and I really like that tank.
I'm showing the video you sent.
Oh, cool. Yeah. So that's a Clearview lid with GHL Mitras and the Refi Uno Pro 2.0. And then a whole lot of corals that I had them in a tub in the middle of the basement for the longest time, keeping those things alive. And then some from Moki, some from Lynn, Reef Nerd, who's close. But that tank came together pretty nicely, and it's really happy now. You see the copper band in the video, and it sucks because I lost the copper band this morning. I woke up this morning. Bummer. I've had that fish for 5 years. And unfortunately, it is no longer with us, which sucks out loud. So now it's outside feeding a hosta. Dug it up and buried it in there. So that offers me a little bit of freedom because that was the only fish that wouldn't eat pellet or flake. So I always had to have a feeder come over while I was traveling, that kind of thing. But sad day because I really a bummer, like that fish.
That's a tough fish to keep too. 5 years. Bravo.
Yeah, that fish. It worked out really well. I could hand feed it Aptasia. Always had a cool personality, was never a jerk, but now it's gone. And that sucks.
Yeah. That does suck.
But the tank's happy. We're like 30 seconds ahead or behind, whatever. But you saw in there, Amanda's here, you saw the princess. The ACI princess was the little frag.
Oh, that was the ACI princess.
Clam. Yep.
You and Moki got you're going for the whole royal flush there or whatnot, right?
We're missing the queen. Which one did Moki get? He's got the Dark Knight and the King, maybe, or did he get the queen? I don't know. We're missing two.
I can't remember.
I think.
We'll
get him.
So how long has that tank been up and running?
That tank has been up for 4 months.
Nice. And how did you kind of prep for the tank to you know, in terms of getting the rock all? Did you have the rock cooking and stuff? Was that in the other system? Smooth transition.
So I was lucky. Yeah, I was lucky enough to have the other tank. So it's been 145 days since that thing's been up. I had everything in the tub, and I had a sump that was feeding the tub, and then I had some of the old rock, and then I brought in media and rocks and sand from Lynn Moki's tanks and Aquabiomics. So I brought in their sand. So I had that cooking in the sump, but then I would also transition rock, dry rock, and whatever I was keeping in that sump out to a 55-gallon poly tank that's still on my patio with a clownfish and an anemone hanging out in there. But anyway, they lived out there all winter. So I kind of had existing stuff, but then you know, people I know, people I can go see their tanks. I kind of did it old school, right? I started the new tank with stuff from the old tank and then locals.
That's the way to do it, dude. Hey, what's happening, Chris from ACI and Lynn Reef Nerd? Moki got the king and Prince. You have the princess, but Chris is correcting that it's the Prince of Darkness.
He has Moki has the Prince of Darkness.
That's Moki got the king and Prince. I think she's saying you have the Prince of Darkness.
No, I have the princess.
Oh, the princess.
I need the queen, I suppose.
Oh, okay. She says she has the queen. I'm so damn confused, dude.
I think we collectively have them all.
You collectively have them all. Yeah. Okay.
But it was cool to be able to set up this tank, you know, old school. So no bottled bacteria. I didn't bother with any of that stuff. And there's no bottled bacteria in this tank at all.
Any ugly stage whatsoever?
Yep. Yeah. So no real ugly stage, but I had some fun with some cyano that came in about 2 weeks before spring break week. So 2 weeks before the middle of March is when the cyano came in. So no weird brown funky stage, no algae, no any of that. But I also have a yellow-eyed coal tang hanging out in that tank. So nothing's going to grow in there.
I love those fish. I lost mine.
That's a great fish. I've had that fish for a long time. That sucks when you lose those.
Yeah, I lost it in it was one of my casualties when I had my big whoopsie moment with overdosing the nitrate solution.
Yeah.
Bert Minshew is asking you, are you running some warm whites, Jim? Looks like the natural look sucks about the copper band.
So it is the same spectrum that you have, Keith, with the Mitras. And then I have that refi running daytime, I think, is the schedule that thing has. So it's the same thing that you have over your peninsula, basically.
What time of day was
that? Was shot with my
I was going to say, what time of day was that shot? Was that main period?
Yeah, there's just one schedule. It comes up and it stays up, and it stays up until 8 o'clock, but 8 p.m. And that was shot with my phone through Lynn's vanity glasses, the orange glasses.
Gotcha. Yeah, dude, I am totally digging the spectrum that you created for me. That dude, it's been set it and forget it. And you know, I was corrected by Tulio when I had him on a couple of weeks ago.
Oh yeah, I heard it. And he's right. He's totally
right. It mimics as close as you can get to the 400 watt 20K metal halide spectrum. It's not going to be the same spectum, but yeah, I mean, you know,
it's damn close.
It is. I think it is. But who was I talking to? I think I was talking to Moki about this last week. Or no, I've been talking to Chris Meckley about this earlier this week. That so I have the Peninsula tank in the same room as I have the with the Mitras over it, as well as the same display tank with the halides that run that I run the 400 watt 20K radium bulbs on it, and so. It definitely, the Mitras look bluer than the halide tank, even though I've got some blue and purple T5 bulbs along with the halide fixtures. But it's I'm converting that halide tank to Mitras. I got 4 Mitras that I need to install, and Moki has done me a solid by sending me the par meter. Yeah,
Awesome.
apogee par meter, right? And so we're gonna take some readings, make sure that we're not gonna have a similar episode that that Moki had. What do you think, dude? Should I be like 10% below the par reading starting out, 20%?
I'd go lower. I think I'd go lower than 20% because you have some flexibility. You'll see it right away. I mean, within a matter of weeks, you're going to see what your corals do. Yeah. And then Mitras acclimation is so easy. Just start running it up, and you can push it out 90 days easily. I think it'll go further than that, but give yourself a 90-day acclimation and build yourself back up. The corals will get used to that fatter blue. That's really the difference. I mean, if you exclude IR and UV, the big difference between your halides and the Mitras is the width of the blue. It's just the Mitras is fatter, so with a pH. So just drop it down. Take it 30%.
30. So you're basically saying measure the par between the Mitras that I use the same spectrum and intensity that I've been using over the Peninsula tank. Take some par readings, and then compare the actually take par readings of the halides and the T5s first. And then go 30% below the par for that with the Mitras. Yeah,
and then just start walking it up. I don't think you're going to have a problem. I think Moki's challenge was more the spread of the blades as compared to his LE bars. Those are tighter, 90-degree lensed bars. I think you'll have less problem than he has because your halide and your Mitra spread is pretty similar.
Yeah.
But just knock it down and then bring it up. You'll be able to see it.
All right, man. I might be giving you a holler to. I've never tried the acclimation feature on the Mitras. Is it pretty simple to use?
Yeah, it's super easy. You just pick your date.
Oh, so you're basically just saying do an acclimation from this day forward until whenever.
Yep. Yeah, you can push it way out too. I like doing certainly greater than 30 days, but I don't know. That's just personal preference. I don't have any data to support that.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Cool. So, Amanda Meckley, I know a guy that will take those halides off your hands. Yeah.
You're gonna have to. I bet if you hang on to them, they're gonna be worth a pretty penny.
You see what I needed a backup. I needed a couple of backup lights, no matter what, whether it's halides or LEDs. That was the one thing in my my spare parts, my boneyard, let's call it, in my house, that I didn't have an extra pair of lights. So let's say ballast blew on one of my from one of my halides fixtures, or something happened with the Mitras or something like that. I didn't have a backup light fixture for any of those kind of possible scenarios. So now I feel comfortable that, all right, I've got a couple of extra fixtures now. They're halides, great. If I have a problem with the LEDs, I could easily swap in the halides for that. But if something goes down, right, you need to. I don't have places nearby where I can go run out and pick up some spare equipment. I just don't. And a lot of people don't really. I mean, depending on what you're using.
Right. Yeah, so I have the opposite problem. I have too many spares. So if anything happened with any of the lights, I'd be fine. I got a couple of Gen 4 XR30s and the Neptune Sky that are down there not doing anything right now, sitting on the back of my car. So, but yeah, if you don't have anybody close, right? It's kind of just you out there on your own. So you can't rely on anybody else. Yeah. Maybe somebody could come out to you with other lights, but it's good to have. It's certainly good to have spares.
I'm on like a 3-hour ride from to Boston, so I know Paul, Great Bearded Reef, who's our moderator, would I'm sure that the club could help me out in a pinch.
See?
But I had the same thing happen to me. Ballast went over the front. Got a pair of super cheap. Yeah.
Those are good spares to have. Gen 4 XR30s, certainly my favorite.
M Casual Reefer. Hey, Telegram, what you drinking tonight?
Yo, this is some Flying Dog 10% Super Hook high octane fruit punch sour.
Oh, I thought that was a beer you're drinking, dude.
It looks like a beer. It's got beer in it, and then it's got some fufu. It's like beer and fufu mixed together.
Well, I'm drinking a good old Heady Topper double IPA.
Nice. You're fancy. You're always
well,
fancy.
you know what, dude? I take advantage of my surroundings. So we've got some great
Nice.
brewers around here. All right, so let's get back to you, man. You're so all right. The tank has been. Here we go, Moki.
There's Moki.
Thank you, Moki. Appreciate it, man. Hello. Question
Where
mark.
you at, Remy?
Remy, where is Remy? Somebody get Remy on this live stream.
He could bring in some of that Reef Builder money, can he? Sorry, Remy, calling you out.
So, all right, man. Getting back to your system in terms of the new tank. What made you decide on the innovative marine, that size tank, and all that stuff? What was the attraction for you?
So I moved it. So the 45-gallon was in the corner, adjacent to the closet, and we wanted to put a chair there. So I had this different wall, which is where the treadmill was, and I was like, well, 100 would fit there kind of nice, and I like the shape of 100, because it looks bigger than it really is. And then Innovative Marine had a sale. I was like, oh hell, I'm in, because I was looking at a couple different ones. And I can't remember who it was. Somebody was awesome, and they sent me the link. And I was like, oh, done. So I bought that. It was actually really easy because it was like $1,400. Was it $1,400 just for the tank and the stand? Like, it was a screaming good deal.
Tank and stand, $1,400. Not bad.
Yeah, I think that's what it was. Somewhere around there. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that's where it was. So, I mean, it made it easy. And then my choice was EXT versus IMT. I'm like, I don't want anything on the inside of the tank, so let's go out.
Oh,
and that
external
worked.
overflow.
Yep.
Nice. That's that's something you don't find a lot of mass-produced tanks have with that kind of feature. I mean, I didn't realize that Innovative Marine had external overflows as an option, but that's pretty cool, man.
Yep. Yeah, it keeps everything right. It keeps it nice and clean. It made the clear view lid even easier. I didn't have to go custom with that. It was just perfect.
That's like one of the reasons why I always go custom, is because I just was never able to find a manufacturer that would have everything that I wanted in a tank. One of those being an external overflow. I always have those in my tanks. I love Euro bracing. That's something that I got to have on every reef tank. And I like wide tanks. So when you have the cookie cutter stuff, usually you're not going to find like a wide option.
This feels wide. I don't know. I don't have this is my first fancy, so I have no idea. I can't compare it. I can compare it to Mogi's. I've seen his, but no Euro brace on this. But the lid kind of gives me that feeling of it, just because it has that trim around the outside. Yeah, I don't know. It's been good. I like it. The silicone's nice and clean. The stand is the stand. You can't go wrong with those kind of stands. So at least I don't know that you can go wrong, but it's been really good. I've enjoyed it.
Carlos23, thank you very much for that super chat.
Thanks,
and Lynn Reef Nerd, thank you very much for that super chat there, Lynn. Deposit on the next Purple Monster.
Oh yeah, by the way, Purple Monster. Thank you, Lynn.
Yeah, I kind of like I always am hesitant to post anything of the Purple Monster colony on social media, because I know what's going to happen. That's why pretty much I preface every post now with like, don't ask for a frag, because I don't have any available.
You're such a tease.
I'm a dick, right?
I like it though. I like it.
I don't know. It might change in the next few months, but there is no waiting list, so don't ask me to be on a waiting list, because I can't do that.
I'm not asking.
I can't do that. That's just not fair. Well, I mean, what
did I buy? I bought some stuff from you, right? I bought a pack for Lynn.
Yeah, that's right.
And you threw some goodies in there, and I really like those. They look good when they came in. Look, I'm not pimping you, but when they came in, they were beautiful. They were in great shape.
Happened,
they
dude?
were not brown. They were
What
colorful.
Happened?
I gave them.
You gave them Lynn. Okay.
Yeah.
And hopefully everything's good with Lynn. They're doing well for Lynn.
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay. Yep. Yeah. Yeah, I was going to talk about this in the show, but I'm having a big live sale, not this Saturday, but the next Saturday. So
I'm gonna take a note.
At
Mother's Day weekend.
Mother's Day weekend, it's gonna be a Saturday. Yeah.
All right.
And big sale. I had the frags. I mean, dude, I got so much growth in my tanks. It's like
your peninsula.
It's crazy.
I'll take one each of your peninsula tank corals. I have no room for that shit, but I'll take it.
You know what's happening? I don't mean to be talking about me because we should be talking about you. But the stuff is like fused together to the point where I've got to like be aggressive and get in there and really start hacking away. Carlos23, thank you so much for the super chat. Just because. Chris at ACI, Keith, my purple monster is now 3 inches below the water with 400 watt HQI 10K cooking it. I am determined to make this little turtle grow.
There you go.
Well, one observation about the purple monster is that. And now that I got Moki's par meter, I'm gonna take some detailed readings. And I saw Amanda's comment earlier, Meckley's comment about Chris being sad that I'm switching from halides to LEDs. I still have two tanks, a 50-gallon and 75-gallon frag tank that are lit by halides. So I'm not completely off the halides, and I do love them so.
I don't have that attachment gene. I mean, I got a halide in the basement right now that I borrowed from somebody because I wanted to take some readings. I wanted to understand some stuff, but I just don't. I mean, I get it. Like, I'm sure people like records, and I'm a streamer, so I get it. But I don't have that gene. It's like the piss on forward, piss on shit.
Yeah, no, I get it, man. I mean, listen, I've had such awesome results with the halides that it's not something that I want to give up anytime.
A lot of people have.
Yeah. Will thank you so much for that super chat. Need some goldenrod and arachnopora. Actually, I have some of the ACI toxic and arachnopora, which I think, Chris or Amanda, correct me if I'm wrong, looks very similar to the goldenrod.
And then Moki has some Moki has some goldenrod. Hit him up. Inappropriate Reaper on Instagram.
Yeah.
You know what goldenrod doesn't like? Dropped nitrates. It kills it.
Oh, like really?
That. Oh, yeah.
Moki. Look at Moki. All right. Thank you, Moki. Slow and steady.
Where the hell's Remy?
Remy. Somebody text Remy and get him on this live stream for crying out loud.
I already did.
So my point about the par meter and the purple monster and all that stuff, I'm going to take some detailed readings of all my tanks, all my frag tanks. So the purple monster colony, my mini colony that I showed on Instagram, is probably, I'll have to confirm it, at about 200 to 250 par, maybe 250 par. But I've got a frag of the purple monster in my peninsula tank that's probably getting, I'd say, 400 par, much deeper purple on that frag versus the little mini colony in the halide lit tank. So it's interesting. And but I do want to take some detailed readings, and thanks. I want to thank Moki again for sending that par meter. Yeah. Okay. So, what were we talking about, dude? I went off on a tangent there.
Yeah. Welcome to having Telegraham on. My bad.
Well,
we were talking about tanks.
Well, let's talk about par meters. Let's get into that whole thing. So, I believe Moki sent me the Apogee
510.
510. You've been playing around with some par meters lately, right?
So yeah, I have the 500 because the majority of the work I do is out of a tank, and I can do math. I can do the 1 point whatever immersion factor multiplication. But when I'm testing lights, the majority of the time that's out of a tank. Spectrometers is kind of what I enjoy doing, right? So I've got the Parwise. I just started checking this out yesterday, and it's an interesting device at 300. I would love to have seen it at 200, which I think is what they had announced at, but now it's shipping for $3.
Oh, so say again, that is a spectrometer?
It's a spectrometer and a par reader.
Oh, okay.
So I'm going to compare it to the 500, and then I'll throw it in a tank and compare it to the 510 because I just do the math to convert from 500 to 510. So it will do spectrum and it will do par. It'll also do some other stuff, and it's also software upgradable because you just plug it in a computer and it's a web app, or you can plug it into an Android device, and that works pretty well. By the way, I bought this, so just want to make sure I cover that. Full price. It's close. So for $300, it's close. So the way I feel about this is Yeah, that's a new one that just came out, Amanda. I feel that for $300, a couple of people get together and they buy this thing, and then they have something that gets pretty freaking close to either the Hopocolor, which is not waterproof, which is a damn good spectrometer for $600, or the Upertech, the one that BRS uses.
Okay.
And that shit's expensive. So I think this might be, I don't understand, and I'll provide some data, and hopefully they can tune this thing since it is software upgradable, compared to the other two spectrometers. Right now, the peaks don't align, both blue side and red side, so I'm trying to understand that. But if the par's close enough, maybe within 10% of what you get with an Apogee 510, then it's probably a decent deal. So it'll be
Remy.
There it is.
Remy, what's up, man? Thank you so much for that, because these boys are hot. There you go. All right, Moki.
So I'm looking forward to playing with this some more.
We're gonna start getting the 2-cent super chats now from Moki and Remy.
Carlos, you can't let these boys win. I'm just saying.
So have you done any comparisons yet to the Apogee 510? Is that?
Yeah. So because I'll use the 500, I'm able to. It's essentially the same as the 510, same sensor. So I will compare this to that. I just need to do it out of the water first, just to see what I'm looking at, and then I'll throw it in the tank. So I've only checked spectrum with this.
So Rich Colombo, hey, what's happening, Rich? And Rich, let me say something about Rich here, man. Rich is the dude that found the Jackson's Rainbow Tenuous. I don't know if he found it, but I know that's.
I bought one of those.
I got one of those from Mike. I think I got it from Rich, but that was like one of the first like really serious, awesome Rainbow Tenuouses out there. Many years ago, and that's a kick-ass coral. So thank you for that, Rich. I think Rich named it, but his comment is the USB Apogee is $234. So there's a USB version of that.
Yeah, there is, with a different sensor. So it doesn't capture the same range as the sensor attached to the 500, 510, but it is certainly good enough if you're just checking PAR. Now, if you want PAR and spectrum, I feel like I'm pimping this thing too much. But if you want PAR and spectrum, then you got a $300 device. So just a little bit more, and maybe you get a little bit more, but I'll compare it to the Apogee. And I'll share that stuff. I'll share that data.
Why should hobbyists think about getting not only a PAR meter but a spectrometer?
We'll start with PAR meter. I don't think you should install lights over your tank without a PAR meter. I think you should have that data. People ask, what are your settings? Here's my tank. These are the corals. Every tank's different. Everybody keeps a different tank. Everybody keeps their glass clean or not clean. And clean glass makes a difference. Everybody should set up a tank with a PAR meter. That's I don't see a way around that.
A brand new tank, or a tank that you're kind of rebooting with new lights?
Well, like you, if you're changing lights. Yeah. So if you set up a new tank, absolutely, you should know. And if you are going to change lights, and everybody likes to do that, you should know. You should have that data. Yeah. Spectrum is a different thing. So spectrum. I mean, a lot of light spectrum is well published. There's tons of data out there, right? BRS has given us just loads of information on spectrum. So you can go out there and find the spectrum basically for any light that they have tested. But there's so many other lights out there that they have not tested, from Refi to Viper Spectra to any of the other ones that you're going to find on Amazon. Nightcrew is a great light. And it helps to have spectrum data to be able to dial in those lights to compare them to create spectrum that's very similar. What up, Bert? To create
Bert,
spectrum
thanks,
that's
Bert.
Similar. To create spectrum that's very similar to the other lights that BRS has tested. So if you have the spectrum data out there and you can't afford some of these really expensive lights, and you're just starting out or whatever, and you have a Viper Spectra, you could dial that thing in if you have a friend with a spectrometer, or if you have your own.
Yeah. Bert Minshew, for Moki's restocking fee, he'd charge you on the par meter, Keith. Yeah, no. When Moki's ready, I'm gonna hit him. I'm gonna send him a nice little frag pack there. Like we said there, Jim. It's reefer's code, right? No money exchange.
Absolutely.
No money exchanges hands.
Nope.
That's what more reefers should be doing these days.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a beautiful thing. M Casual Reefer par meter is definitely a game changer. Carlos 23. I love my 510. Always set all of my tanks with a par meter. Yeah, I didn't do that until my Peninsula tank. At the time I rented a par meter from BRS, and so I made sure when I set up the Mitras on the Peninsula tank, I wanted to know what my R was based on that spectrum and the schedule you would send to me.
Yeah, that was one of the smartest things I think that BRS ever did, even though they don't call it a rental now.
Yes.
That they make that thing available, because you could buy it and you keep it for 3 months or something, and then you return it and you lose the restocking fee. It's essentially a rental.
Yes. Yeah.
And then somebody buys that same par meter at a reduced price because now it's open box. So it's pretty sweet. It helps out a couple people.
Yeah, no, for sure. So have you been dissecting any equipment there lately, Jim? Any projects where you're just kind of taking stuff apart and probing and just kind of checking it out to see how it's built, stuff like that?
Lately, the only things I've been testing, and I tested the blades when they first came out, and I tested the who makes that thing? Reef Factory. Their flare blue. Those aren't my lights, so I didn't take them apart. I haven't taken anything apart lately, really. It's been a little slow around the Telegram household.
Well, I've been,
because I want to clean the garage out, because I want to get everything off the shelves and put the 40 breeder out there and tie it into the new tank, but nothing lately.
I've got so many freaking projects I gotta tackle. It's crazy. I just actually installed the new GHL Maxi doser.
Yep. Oh, I saw that video. That was good. I have one of those, so I was paying attention.
How do you like yours?
I haven't hooked it up yet.
No.
I have this pile of, because when I set up the new tank, I just hooked up the mini, because I didn't have the cabinet set up for the larger GHL devices, and I also want to put some of those out in the garage. So right now it's just the mini's paying attention and controlling the heater. So I don't have the P4 and all the other goodies attached yet.
Champion Lighting Supply. Pick up the pace, Jim! !
Oh, I owe you a couple lights.
Yeah, there was an interesting thing going on Instagram there before the show. I'm not going to get into it there, dude. So that's between you and them.
If it helps, I am wearing pants. That was,
yeah. What episode was that? Was that the Reef Beef thing?
That was the last one with Reef
Yeah,
Beef.
you weren't wearing pants.
No, I didn't. I took off my pants.
Did they put pressure on you to do that?
They won't. No, not at all. Rich wouldn't do that. He's not going to pants shame me.
That wasn't Ben's idea?
No, but Ben certainly participated, and then Rich couldn't because he was rolling commando. But whatever, that's a long story. Go check it out. The bloopers are fantastic.
Oh, I didn't.
My wife came in and yelled at me.
I didn't stick around for the bloopers. I got to.
Oh no, you know, yeah. Go get the bloopers. I think the value of a Telegram on a Reef Beef is just the bloopers. Really, those boys know what they're doing. They don't need me.
Yeah, so I finally installed the Maxi doser because I had been using the GHL doser 2.1 for dosing
high volume,
7,200 mLs of Kalkwasser per day.
Nope,
and
not with that doser.
That was I did that, dude, for like 2 years, I think, or a year and a half or something.
Like you said, you got to maintain that thing.
Well,
right?
yeah.
And it's easy to maintain. The parts are easy to get.
Yeah.
I mean, all of that's really easy. But I love that thing for precision dosing or low volume dosing. And then the Maxi, or, I mean, if you're me and you've got a dose and then you buy a GHL board to convert your dose into a GHL Maxi, because I have one of those downstairs
really?
too.
You converted
totally.
a Neptune dose into a GHL Maxi with a GHL motherboard?
The dose and the Maxi are exactly the same things. That's why you couldn't buy the Maxi anymore, because Neptune was like, nope. They did a supplier agreement, and so GHL couldn't get the pump anymore. That's why GHL created the new Max.
Remy wants you to stand up just to prove you're wearing pants.
I mean, for real. I got pants on, bro. But yeah, they're exactly the same. So if you
maybe I'm not wearing pants. Maybe that's
maybe that's okay. But if you take the board out of a dose and put a GHL board inside, suddenly your dose is quiet, and you just drive it off of GHL stuff. That one's actually a standalone board. I got to find a broken dose for it.
Yeah, no, it's my only complaint, and somebody made the comment, is that it is a little noisy.
That's interesting that it is loud, because they worked pretty hard on that.
Oh, they did. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
I need to hear mine. I haven't run it yet.
But it's been great because I dose so much, and it just it's something that's been long overdue, and in fact, Moki, thank you, Moki.
Where you at, Bert?
Or Remy. So that was like one thing that I was very happy to finally transition to that real. So what's this? I'm actually not.
Great beard.
Great beard of Reef. Paul's not. I'm actually not wearing any pants. We can't see you, Paul.
My man.
Josh Allen, same uniform as always, Keith. Yeah, that's true. I don't know.
That is true.
Always the same. Gotta be. For the.
If I see.
Go ahead.
If I see you at Magna, I'm gonna need one of those hats. I think.
You don't have one of these hats?
I'm gonna Venmo you a hat. You just if I see you there, please.
Well, you're not gonna see me at Magna because I got canceled.
Not Magna. Rap. My bad.
Are you going to Rap?
I might go to Rap.
I might go too. You're what day are you thinking? Saturday, Sunday?
I'll probably come up Saturday and spend a night. Not going to stay there, but we'll figure that out.
Yeah.
Damn, Mac. No, my bad.
Paul's going to send us pics. We don't need to see the pics, Paul.
I don't need pics, Paul. I mean, it's really nice of you. It's very generous. I mean, I'm comfortable, but yeah, I'm good.
So on this episode of Only Bums, yeah, Rob B's Reef.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, it's just a couple of bums talking up. Remy, whoop. The comments, pants. Thank you, Remy. Oh, geez. So, but yeah, so I've got that, which I finally switched over to, and now I got to do the Mitras, and I've got all the 80-20 bar, and I just got to put them together, fire them up, mount them. I think I'm going to have to get my wife's help to mount them because I don't want my current light fixtures to be falling into the water, if you know what I mean. Not a good thing. So
what I do, I just put wood across the top.
Yeah.
If you have that up right, that's what I've always done.
That's what I do. I mean, I'll the same thing. I kind of like have it all figured out. I should know better to ask my wife for help on a reef keeping project because it always ends up a pretty good story.
Mine went with me to a local. We've got two. We have WAMAS and CMAS here. We have Chesapeake and Washington area. And we had CMAS had their Frag Fest, and my wife actually went with me. And she's like, "What do you do here?" I was like, "Well, this event was a Frag Fest. So what they do is they bring in corals, or some of the people in the club donate their corals, and then frag it all up, and then $20 a coral, and it doesn't matter what the coral is, from Euphilia to tenuous to whatever, to millies to everything. They're $20 a coral." Across the board. So then you wait in line and you get your picks, and then you can wait in another line and wait in another pond, like because they have LPS and they got mixed and they got SBS, and then you go pay. She's like, "You just gonna wait in line? You just gonna buy some corals?" I was like, "Yeah, I'm gonna support this club because this is pretty cool." But yeah, she actually went with me. How about you? You get that kind of action?
I've got some stories with my wife. I mean, the funniest story is when we used to live in New York City, and we were moving from New York City to Westchester, which is a suburb of New York City, to a brand spanking new house. So leaving the big city, my wife was born and bred in New York City, so that was kind of a tough transition out of big city living life there, and I had a reef tank. I think it was a 90-gallon reef tank in a 5-floor no, it wasn't the walk-up. It was an apartment building, but it was an elevator. Thank goodness that was an elevator. I think it was a 90-gallon reef tank, and so I moved that tank to the suburbs. So I had I called up U-Haul and rented a U-Haul, which was I think the nearest U-Haul rental place was up in Harlem, in in Manhattan, in New York City. So so my dear wife, as I was, there's a lot going on, right? You're breaking a tank down. You got to be very efficient, and it's a whole timing thing, right? You got to like do it as quickly as possible because or else the animals could suffer. So I was like, honey, if you can go and pick up the U-Haul and drive it down to the apartment, that would be awesome because I just have my hands full in breaking down this tank and blah blah blah. So I get a phone call, a couple hours later or whatever, and she's like, they don't have your reservation. There's no U-Haul with your name on it or whatever like that. And so I'm breaking the tank down, right? I need transportation. I'm like, just take it. Take the U-Haul. And my wife like had a sandwich or something like that. She says, I'm really, really sorry. My husband says I just got to take the U-Haul. Here's my sandwich. And I don't know how she got the keys, but she got the U-Haul.
Yep.
And so there must have been like some sort of desperation that the guy at the U-Haul saw in her, and somehow she managed to get that U-Haul and deliver it to me. So I'm forever grateful to my wife for that.
You owe.
Yeah.
You owe.
My wife wants to host an episode of this show. I do this week in and week out, and wouldn't that be a lot of fun to have like my better half host the Rappin With ReefBum and
hell yeah, that'd be awesome.
Have her interview some other better halves that I've been.
I like that. I really like that idea.
If you like it, put it in the chat there. I'd like to see your thoughts on Mrs. ReefBum hosting an episode of Rappin With ReefBum.
Not a live, right?
Yeah,
live.
Like
a recorded.
Live.
Oh, you want to do it live?
This is a live show. This has got to be.
Oh,
this has got to be live.
I dig it.
So I made her do like a little pilot tape.
I think you should.
She auditioned for me.
I like it. That's hell yeah. Do that.
And if we have any volunteers, if anybody that has a better half that wants to be a guest or a couple of, what do you got?
I might be able to pull that off, right? You could probably get Moki.
Moki's wife?
And my wife made her debut on Reef Beef.
Oh, she did?
Yelling at me about not wearing pants. Oh, yeah, it's in the bloopers. You got to make
it.
You got to make it past the end.
Mr. Reef Save, Woman in Reefing Show. Yes, good idea, Josh Allen. Proceed. Yes, Amanda. Amanda, come on, Amanda Meckley.
I like that idea too.
I don't know.
This is women who support the foolish men.
Keith, can you rap for us? That is not going to happen. The name of the show is Rappin With ReefBum because it rhymes. That's
Yep.
And can you rap? I can't rap.
No, I have no need for that. I know one my brother made up in high school, but I won't do that.
Time to record RT. Have a good night, gentlemen. Oh, Reef Therapy. Good luck, Remy.
All right, Remy. I've been listening. Make it a good one.
Just don't mention any actual coral cost.
Oh yeah, that's a good call.
Yeah. So, all right. Another topic here, dude. Budget reef keeping. Reef keeping.
Totally. Yep.
What are some of the products out there that are not kind of like on the high end that you like that would pique your interest?
So I've got the Innovative Marine tank, right, and I've got the Mitras and the Refi lights over top, and I've got the Clearview lid, which is actually a relatively inexpensive lid. So check that out. And then everything else is not fancy. I'm running Jabo power heads. There's currently 3 of them, only because I'm lazy and I haven't put the 4th one in. I'm running an is it Orlushi or whatever? I found it on. Well, there you go.
Moki. Thank you, Moki. Remy.
I'm running an off-brand Amazon return pump. The sump is a gift from Moki. And I have a Smarter Reefs skimmer in that tank. And then they hooked me up with that because I wanted to play with that thing. And then I bought the filter roller and algae scrubber attachment for that skimmer. So I'll add that in. That's probably the fanciest thing that'll live in that sump is that skimmer filter roller and scrubber combo. Yeah. But I'm a huge fan of Jabo power heads. I also like the return pumps, but Orlushi is cheaper, so I bought that just to see what that thing was all about, and it's fantastic. I bought another one as a spare. I'm a huge fan of cheap pumps.
I
don't think you need expensive.
What are the Jabos push?
Oh, they're very similar to. Oh, I did a post compared to the new IM Nero, the Nero 7. I think the Jabo SLW 30 is 80. I'll round down 85% of the power of a Nero 7, but it is a significant cost reduction. Now you don't get the automatic stuff, but I mean, do you really need it? I don't need an app. I don't need an app for a power head.
Nope. I don't think that's really necessary.
So, yeah. I'm all about the Jabo SLWs. The SLW 10s will live inside slurry. When I had the other system before I took it down, that was on a slurry, and I had 2 SLW 10s living in there. They don't break. Those things are fantastic.
Oh, we talking about slurry now?
I mean, we can talk about slurry. I have no issue with slurry. Where you at, Rob? Rob will jump in here. He knows.
I digress.
Slurry's no different than Kalk. No matter how you spin it, it's still the same. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of, I think I'm a fan of budget for those who need budget, because I've told the same story, right? When I retired from the Air Force, I'm at 60K. I don't have a lot of money. Yep. So what do you do for the people that are making 30, 40, 50, 60K a year, and they still want to be in the hobby, especially those who need that as like a PTSD treatment? There are certainly options for them. You move into lighting, tons of option. I've already mentioned Night Crew. That thing's fantastic. Who's running that? Fish of Hex. He's running, right? He's running the 150 versions of the Night Crew. They work great.
I've never heard of them.
So, oh yeah, they're Amazon lights and they're cheap and they're awesome. I'm running one over an IM20 right now.
Interesting.
But, there are certainly options out there. It's just they're not mainstream. But I have my share of really expensive stuff too, so I'm able to compare them and go.
You mentioned Kalkwasser, and I was like, all right, we're talking slurry, but Kalkwasser by itself, that's a budget reefing item. You save a lot of money.
Hell yeah!
Right?
Yep. Yeah. I've been running Kalk since day one, so I'm running Kalk on the IM100 right now. So, I have no issue with it.
Yeah, my calcium reactors really don't turn on that often when I'm dosing so much, Kalkwasser. So in terms of replacing the media, in terms of replacing the CO2, canisters, that I'm saving a lot of money by doing that Kalkwasser. So it's that's something definitely people should be thinking about. There's obviously other great advantages with Kalkwasser in terms of the pH benefits and its magical qualities. Right, we all know there's some sort of magic associated with Kalkwasser and corals. That's
it works out really well.
So,
it is, and then the slurry trepidation for those who are anti. I don't get it, because slurry is anything beyond 2 teaspoons per gallon. So if you go 2.5, you're into slurry territory, and just keep it moving. It doesn't need to be like I was doing 2/3 cup per gallon of calcium hydroxide. Slurry is anything beyond 2 teaspoons. So it doesn't need to be anything crazy. You can scale with your tank's needs.
And a good big draw with slurry is that it's a space saver, right? You don't need a lot of space to slurry.
Well, two. You don't need a lot of space with slurry, but you're also not beholden to evaporation. So your Kalkwasser dose is locked to your evaporation. You can't dose any more than whatever you're evaporating, right? Because then you'll overfill your tank.
Right.
With slurry, it doesn't matter. So if you go 4 teaspoons per gallon and you keep that moving, and then you dose that as the half of what you would dose normal Kalkwasser, you're doing the same thing, but you're doing it at half the dose. So now you have a little more flexibility, and you can support your alkalinity Or more importantly, if you tied the pH, you can support your pH as long as your tank can handle the consumption of the alkalinity, and you're good to go.
Comment from Born to Be shooter Josh. I'm disabled, so I don't have anywhere near the even 30 to 40 to 50K, but live. I've managed to pack a reef full of corals. Just have to be very thoughtful as you shop and just get to know someone who does have all that money. That's another point. Yeah, there's obviously a lot of different budget items, but also corals. There's like a shit ton of budget corals out there that you don't have to spend an arm and a leg on, and if you're part of a club.
Yeah, part of a club or find cool people.
You trade.
Like Moki, Lynn, and I, we don't, unless we're bringing in something, unless Lynn buys something and I'm paying her back for that effort, there's no money traded.
John Ryder, ReefBum. Try running a reef tank on a UK state pension. Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing that plays into that whole thing in terms of budget reef keeping is keep it simple, right? Just keep it simple. There's just there's a lot of pieces of equipment out there, and you talked about you've got some expensive pieces of equipment, but you're doing a lot of testing and what have you. Yep. And I've always kind of believed in the philosophy, the fewer moving parts, the simpler the system, the more successful that you will be. And I've seen plenty of reef tank setups that are just really, really basic in terms of the equipment. There's just nothing really fancy about these setups, and you can absolutely have success with that simplistic approach.
Yep, totally. Like right now, the IM100s is really, really simple. It's just saturated calc, and I'm using Captivate Trace, and I just drip that in 5 drips a day if I think about it. And then actually my ATO is on a float, so I'm not even running an ATO pump. It's directly off the RO.
Reef Exotico by Luis Aceves. What's happening there, Luis? I met Luis out at Reefstock. Very cool dude. Comments, cool. Joining the Kalk train, Meckley method, going to use Milwaukee pH controller. Will the Versa save the time clock settings when the controller shuts off power to it? I don't know the answer to that question, Luis.
Versa bugs me only because you can't access it when you're not at home. Unless it's somehow tied to a Gen 6 or 5. I don't know if they enabled that yet. I have a Versa, and it's dosing vinegar, but that's the only reason. That's the only Versa I have.
Here's another point in terms of budget reef keeping. Stay up with the maintenance of what you got, right? Because if you don't and crap breaks down, then you're going to have to replace it. That's, I think, has always been a key with me in terms of just being very regimented with my maintenance. You don't have any, fails in that regard.
Farm Frag mentions a very inaccurate statement there where he says TDS creep going to catch up to you, but I've got 2 DI resins and I have TDS in between and after. I've got it before, in between, and after, so I'm paying attention to the TDS, so it's not going to creep up on you. You just pay attention to your first canister, and when it gets low, you move your second canister to the first position, and you refill the first and put it in the second, and you don't get TDS creep.
Mark Folenwider, kiss wherever possible in this hobby. I totally agree with that. Mr. Reef Safe, often give frags away. I love to help new reefers out, but the most frustrating part of it, that is often people on Facebook want me to deliver them too.
I'll drive for somebody to meet me somewhere, and I'm comfortable with that. But
John Wright, this is cool. I've given away frags and fish free to help other reefers.
Yeah, me too.
Absolutely. I think we need to. Good karma, right? This hobby is all about good karma and helping out our fellow reef keepers.
Bert's a great example because I would almost, and one day I'll figure this out, but I would drive to where Bert lives just to get like a frag out of his 40 breeder because that tank is so freaking beautiful.
Nice.
Pork belly tacos.
Pork belly tacos.
Oh, it is Cinco de Mayo. It's also May the 4th be with you. but it's also Quattro de Mayo.
Is this Cinco de Mayo this weekend?
No, tomorrow's Cinco de Mayo, but today's Quattro de Mayo, so it's Cinco de Mayo Eve. So get your tacos.
Gotcha. Yeah. All right. Makes sense. Well, here's another thing in terms of budget reef keeping, and that is well, what you're doing there, Jim, is great because you're doing a lot of testing and stuff, and you're able to kind of like kick the tires on certain pieces of equipment,
equivalency,
and
right?
See what stacks up versus maybe some higher end stuff. But
Yep.
I always do believe in investing in stuff that might have a better build quality. So if that translated into it being more expensive, I'll go that route. But to me, I see it as an investment over the long haul. I'm not in this hobby for the short term, and some people might be new to the hobby and they're not exactly sure if they want to be in it for the long haul. But for me, being 30 years in, I think my experience has always been that yes, there are some great products out there that can be had at a fraction of the cost of something else that is just as good in terms of the quality. But investing in quality, I think, can also be helpful.
As budget allows. I totally agree. Yeah. Right? You and I are lucky enough to be able to do some of these things that maybe others can't, and that's why I like finding those options that I can say are equivalent to some of the fancier things. I mean, there's a place for everything, and it's just a matter of there's none that are best as far as I'm concerned. There are those that are best for you, and whoever and the person who is buying gets to decide that.
Yeah. Anything else, dude, that you could think of in terms of budget reef keeping? Did we cover a lot of? I think we covered a lot of good.
Yeah, I'm kind of doing it. I did Kalk. Alpha Reef has been good to me too. If you buy that stuff in the powder form, that's pretty decent. So if you're not into a calcium reactor, and if you're not into 2-part, and Kalk may not be your option, I think the powder form of Alpha Reef, I've used the liquid form and it's treated me well. I think that is a good, it's a good option if you want to go that direction. It's not going to really impact it's not going to raise your pH. Your corals through respiration and whatever they do are going to raise your pH. But I think that's a good option for those with smaller tanks with decent consumption.
Yeah, you're right, because it's not something, I think, if you want to get more seriously into corals and all that stuff, and you need to start tweaking things here and there, and that's not a product that's going to allow you to do that. But if you're kind of new to it, you're kind of putting a toe in the water in terms of getting to more advanced corals, then I think that's a good way to go. It's simplistic.
Single doser too, right? Clean Reefer mentions Kalkwasser and CO2 scrubber. So what I would suggest ahead of a CO2 scrubber, because I think it matters budget wise, is measure your CO2. Know what your CO2 is. Go ahead.
Oh, Mr. Reef. Thank you, Mr. Reef Safe. I usually listen to the podcast later, but want to give a thank you whenever I can watch live. Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
But before buying a CO2 scrubber, know what your CO2 is, because your CO2, like mine's 400 to 600 in my basement. I don't have to worry about it. So know what your CO2 is in your space, and you can get a relatively inexpensive CO2 meter off of Amazon, and then you can measure and know. Don't just buy a CO2 scrubber because you're told to.
Right.
Measure your CO2 and know you need one.
What's your pH range these days, Jim?
I am. Actually, I had a weird dip, but right now it's okay, and it's 8.1-ish to 8.25. Nice. And I haven't started doing anything control-wise for pH, so I'm just letting it go for now. The last time I checked alkalinity, I think it was 7 something. I mean, it's still a new tank, right? 145 days, so I'm dialing it in. It's going to take a little while. I mean, you normally ask, but nitrates are high. I would have to look up my app real quick, but nitrates are higher than you may expect. But because of the yellow eye coal, I don't have a problem with algae or anything funky. And then phosphates are surprisingly high too, at 0.1, 0.2, something like that. What are you at right now? While I fumble around looking.
Phosphate is a kind of a frustrating thing for me in terms of test kits that I
test kits.
So I kind of lean on the ICP testing, and I think based on my latest Reef Labs ICP test. I'm probably like around 0.08 for one system, 0.03 or 4 for another system. Nitrates are for my Peninsula tank system like around 5, and for my other system, usually they've been around 2.5. Dip down around like 1 because I think my Clearwater algae scrubber now is starting to kind of kick in. So you know.
So here, I'll ruin you a little bit, and I'm at 28.8 was my last nitrate.
28.8.
And my last phosphate was 0.4.
Holy mackerel, dude. That's but you know, your tank looks great.
Tank's fine.
So it's in balance.
That's where I'm leaning a little Richard Ross on this one. I was like, I don't care. Actually, they jumped way up like that after. So spring break, that first week of April, we went away, and the day before I treated for cyano. So I did a mix of ChemiClean and Reflux. And I don't know why I'm using Reflux other than Lynn told me to. She heard from somebody else, and this has worked twice for me now. So I do a combo of those two. No, I'm doing it for cyano.
Oh, really?
Yup. So don't do this. Don't listen to me. But I did Flux and ChemiClean.
Ooh, dude.
And then I dosed.
You're brave.
I haven't had a problem with it yet. So I dosed. It wasn't a full amount. It was probably 3/4 of the recommended dose of both of those. And then I turned my lights down 10%. And I ran 10% for 5 days. And then 6th day, I turned the lights off. And then 7th day, I turned the lights on, and I came home on the 8th day, and the tank was spotless. And I lost no corals.
Interesting. So I had Jason Fox on the live stream, and he said he used Reflux. I think he said it was Reflux for bryopsis, but he used 1/10 of the recommended dosage.
Yep.
And that worked. And then when I had Julian and Charles on, Julian was like, really, there's no reason not to use the fluconazole, which is pretty much what Reflux is. Because it's an antifungal type of medication. ChemiClean, that kind of scares me, and I've had issues with the cyano in my 187-gallon display tank. It's interesting because I've got coming up. I've got Dr. Eli Meyer from Aquabiomics and also Andy Bauman, who's been doing a lot of testing with the Aquabiomics, and he's got some tests in. We're going to talk about these. He doesn't have the results yet, but he did a before and after for ChemiClean. So I'm going to be really curious to see what those look like, the results before and after.
Yeah, he and I have talked because I did the same. So I did a before. Yeah, and I'll capture the after. My before test got tripped up at the testing center, and they're retesting right now. So once I have the results for that, I'll send in the after. So yeah, he and I are going to compare the results. We've talked about that. He actually mentioned that he's going to be on with you.
Yeah, well, if you wouldn't mind sharing your results too, that would be.
Oh hell yeah,
that would be really cool because I think that's that would be really insightful in terms of the ChemiClean stuff because there's been a lot of I think negativity out there, and I've been one that has been kind of hesitant myself in terms of what the impact of ChemiClean has on the microbiome. So it's I'd be very curious to see what that comes back to say.
Agreed. I think the more people who are playing around, actually, the more people, and Rob and I were talking about this a little bit, the more people who send in Aquabiomics testing, the bigger Eli's database gets, the more valuable it becomes. I think if I had to pick the single most valuable data source in the hobby right now, it's Eli's. I think what he's capturing is will alter the hobby once we get a handle on it.
Yes, I think the more data that we have, it's going to be a very powerful tool for sure. CJ's Aquarium makes a really good point. Using Reflux with natural export setups like scrubbers and fuges seems counterproductive long term. I agree with that, because if it could crash your scrubber, it could crash your algae reactor, it could crash your fuge, I would think.
Yeah, but I'm not using Flux for I'm not using Flux for bryopsis. I'm not using it for algae.
What's your nutrient export setup?
There's currently none.
Are you just bacteria dosing?
Yeah, no, I'm not dosing anything other than, and I mentioned it, vinegar.
So you're just using a protein skimmer?
Just a skimmer.
Just a skimmer and water changes?
I've only done one in 145 days.
Wow.
And to the point, I think Farm Frags brought it up. So it's not just softy; it's majority softy, but there's absolutely acros in there, and they're happy. I've got polyps; they're good. It's in the video.
Yeah. Yep. We saw that. Somebody had made a comment here about. I wanted to address this comment about pH and where I'm looking. Oh yeah, Ari, my pH swings from 8.28 to 8.47. Is that a big swing? No. That's kind of like what my swings from, on both of my systems, kind of in that range. So, that's absolutely reasonable. I mean, that's a great range. That's the upper part.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dose my Kalk, saturated Kalk doses only at night. I'm not monitoring alkalinity real time right now. I don't have the KHD set up, so I don't know what it's really doing during the day. But whatever, corals are fine. I'm just paying attention to corals right now. Actually, zoas. I've always sucked at zoas, and at 28 and 0.4, my zoas are so freaking happy. It's crazy. But the acros are too. So I don't know what that means.
What are you using for test kits or testing?
Hannah
for both nitrate and phosphate.
Yep.
Yeah. ICP testing? No ICP testing for you?
I have sent out. Did I send out one? I think I've sent out one, and it was fine. For the most part, everything was good. Yeah, actually, I did because I wanted to know about the Captivate dose.
Yep.
Isolate MT, and that's been working well. There's some stuff that's not there, and probably if I water changed, I would be a little better there. But eventually, I'll water change. I'm just not there yet. I got to clean out the garage, like I said.
Yeah, I'm pretty much doing monthly ICP testing now, and just making the adjustments accordingly with the Captivate, aquaculture traces and miners.
Yep.
And it's been working out really well. I had always been maybe like once or twice a year doing ICP testing, so it's a listen, it's a lot more data than I'm used to having to deal with a reef tank, and I think the key is not to be totally reactive when you have all that information.
I wouldn't react off ICP at all. I think it's a good snapshot. It's not what's going on in your tank right now. It's a snapshot, and it's only as good as the test itself. I think it's a good data point. I think you pay attention to it and see. I get moonshiners, and Moki has had great success with moonshiners. I'm, like you are with your, you don't want to dose based off your auto testing.
No.
It's kind of how I feel about trace. I don't, whatever. It's a personal thing. I don't have any justification for it. And I'm absolutely certain I could be successful with moonshiners, but I don't know. I'm not reactive off ICP nor aquabiomics, but I just like having the data, and then I see what it does over time, and then maybe I'll make a decision 6 months down the road.
Yeah. No, that makes sense, and I don't think you can kind of go wrong with that approach. I think there's a lot of bad things that happen with overreacting in this hobby for sure.
Come on, CJ. Go get you a fancy mic. I'll send you one.
I don't have a fancy mic.
It's good to have you back, dude.
Get on the show one day. It would be interesting. Yeah, really CJ's aquarium. I used to watch all of his videos. All right, shift gears. Let's shift gears again there, Jim. Backup power sources. What do you have in place right now? What's your backup?
So when we traveled over spring break, because I moved the tanks away from where I had my backup power and the batteries, I'm using, like we talked about on Reef Beef, I'm using an MPP. It's a smaller MPP hooked up to lithium iron phosphate batteries. It's basically, if you go to Staples and you buy an APC UPS, it's essentially that, only what I have is a pure sine wave inverter, and then I add my own batteries, a couple of 100 amp hours worth of batteries. So it's just a UPS, so that When power drops out, the UPS turns on and powers my tank. Not with the heater right now, but just the pumps, because I'm a keep the pump keep the sump pumping kind of guy, as well as the power heads. And then I also have solar attached to that, 400 watts of solar. So the tank will run off of solar and batteries during the day, especially now, right? As we transition into summer, the tank will run off of solar and batteries all day and then switch back to grid power at night. Batteries, anything you have, and it doesn't matter what you have. You can have anything. You could have a Reef box attached to whatever battery you have, attached to your power heads to keep water moving. You can have, somebody makes I can't remember who it is. Sorry, but there's a commercial device for a company out there that will do essentially the same thing. It'll switch over to battery when you lose power. You could do it DIY wise. Go ahead.
Thank you, Rob of State New York. Appreciate that super chat there. Chatting and rapping.
But I mean, so I have a generator too. I've got a couple generators, and if things really went bad, I could use my car. If things went really, really bad, I could go get the RV and power the house. But have something, right? What I like to do is have something that will allow me some time before I have to react, before I have to go get the generator, before I have to set everything up. And like I mentioned on Reef Beef, is you got to have a kit of extension cords and power strips and everything you think you might need, and then don't borrow from that box. Have that always ready. Have a generator. If you're reefing, have a generator. I mean, it's a no-brainer for me. And then if you accept that the bad thing's going to happen when you're not home, have some sort of battery solution that will give you or your neighbor or your adult children time to come over and set everything up. And then when it's time for that to happen, make sure that they know what they're doing. And either that's something that they have already seen and practiced, or something that's incredibly simple, like take this thing that you've painted red with nail polish or whatever and plug it into this other thing that's red, right? Granimals that thing. Make it as simple as possible.
Yeah. So how long do you have before you need to do that? If you're like away, you got your battery backup thing going on there in terms of keeping that sump pumping. How many hours you got for that?
Right now, without a heater, I can go multiple days.
Oh, wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah. So it's just moving water, right? This time of year, it's not that big of a deal. I don't have to worry about it. It's certainly plenty of time. The last time it happened, I talked about this on Reef Beef, was that when the airplane flew into the pole here, and Moki actually posted a picture. He drove over there and checked it out. It was really close, and it killed power, and that was Thanksgiving weekend for us. It was cold. Power was not expected to be back up until the following day. It was at least going to be 24, if not 30 plus hours. It ended up being less than that. We were traveling. We were just getting back from our weekend getaway for Thanksgiving. And power went out. I got a call from my kid. I got a call from work because everything at work started blowing up because we had no juice. And I came home and was able to get everything set up with the generator. But the battery carried, actually there's multiple systems in the house, right? Because I also got a tank in the garage, but the batteries carried it until I was able to get the generator running.
Yeah. Jerry Harkey, thank you very much for the super chat. Love your show, man. Thanks. Appreciate that. Really, really do. John Wright, ReefBum, do you have power cuts in the U.S. due to bad weather or bad infrastructure? We very rarely have them in the UK. Yeah, for sure. We depends on what part of the country you're in, but that is the reality that we live in. And yeah, I mean, you mentioned generators. I actually have two generators. I have a full house backup generator, which is not cheap. It's not cheap.
Yep.
But I run my little mini coral farm here, so I need that.
Is that Is that what is that? Propane?
Yep. It's a propane Kohler. Okay. I think it's 5,500 kilowatt propane automatic, and it basically powers every frickin' thing on my two systems. My lights, my pumps. It pretty much will bring everything back online when we have a cut in power. So it I think I've definitely pushed the limits on that. I think it is redlining it, when it's running, especially when I have all the my lights on.
Switching over to LEDs, I'll be a little bit quiet. Sorry, Amanda.
So, well, that is one consideration, because the one hiccup in that, when things come back online, with the generator, when the generator is bringing things back online to a cut in the grid, the one circuit that always breaks is the one with my display tank with the halides, and so I'm hoping the switch to the LEDs will have resolve that issue, because that was a concern of mine, and that was always like in the instructions to my tank sitter, is that if we have a power outage and you see the lights on that one display tank are not on, here is the circuit you need to flip to get it back going.
Because it's always going to happen when you ain't home.
Right. Oh, it's happened. It's happened.
Yep.
But, so, I've got that. But the other thing that I have, and that, we have a 100-gallon propane tank. So that'll get me like 3 to 5 days, running on propane. But then we have a second 100-gallon propane tank, which was something that came with the house. That was, we basically have to run the range top, that's propane range in the kitchen. So, but what we did was, when we moved here, and I was like, I'm going to do this reef keeping thing here in Vermont. We need to kind of, think about some power backup solutions. My first solution was to buy a portable propane generator.
Yeah, actually, Farm Frags just mentioned it, dual fuel.
Yep, and it's awesome, because I still have it. I still run. I basically, what I have is I have a transfer switch. And or no, it's not a transfer switch. It's a it's basically hooked into the other 100-gallon propane tank, and so there's a side feed on that thing, and all I have to do is, I have to be here, pull the ripcord on the thing, but it's my backup to my backup in case there is a failure on the full house backup generator. But that thing can also go for like 2 or 3 days, and it could also run pretty much most of the things on my reef tanks, which is great. And a portable propane generator like the one I have is maybe $800 to $900. It's a little pricier, I think, than a gas powered. I don't know how many kilowatts it is. Maybe I'm wrong on that. Maybe the a propane portable generator is the same price point as a gas powered generator. But the thing I like about propane, not only does it burn much cleaner, but during her Superstorm Sandy, there was a gasoline shortage. You could not get gasoline for a time and power generators. But if you had a propane generator, that wasn't really an issue.
Yeah, agreed.
So, and plus, with a gas-powered generator, right, a portable one, you're going to get, what, 8-9 hours on that thing?
Yeah, you got to get up. If you're sleeping, you got to wake up and gas that thing up. It just depends. I have 2 that I parallel, and they're the little guys, the Wens. I think Moki bought the same one. It's the same as the Predator that you may buy at Harbor Freight. But yeah, you're waking up.
Right. So, I mean, any portable generator, you're waking up. But at least I think with the propane, if you can tap into a larger propane tank, then you're going to get a lot more time out of that in terms of like having to refill the fuel on that thing.
But no matter what you have, you better have something, because it's going to happen.
It will happen, and you've got a lot of money invested in corals and equipment and all that stuff, and maybe some people have a budget reef tank that they're running, and that's cool. But I would definitely carve out a few $100s for a backup power solution. And if you're thinking about buying a few $100s worth of coral, then maybe the backup power plan should supersede that.
Yep. I like the multi-stage. I like what you have. You got a backup to the backup, and I think that's important. I have a backup to the backup just because I don't have a farm, but I want to keep the animals alive. And I'm going to do whatever I can to make that happen. So, I mean, I'm looking. Lewis asked, what are you looking for? I'm looking for something simple. I like the Hondas. If you're just going to go buy something, a Honda dual fuel makes it really easy. and they're nice and quiet, and they burn relatively clean. The ones that I have, they're just gas, but you could buy a kit to make it dual fuel if you wanted to, if you're a DIYer. But it kind of depends on, who you are. Go ahead.
Champion Lighting and Supply. Great show, guys. Thank you very much there for that super chat. Very much appreciated.
But I'm going to go for simplicity, right? If it's just me and I'm not a DIYer, I'm going to go for something that's ready to go. I don't want to mess around with it. I just want it to work. If you're like me, then, you have options.
I'm not familiar with the dual fuel generators. What are they?
That's just gas or propane or natural gas if you got the right orifice.
Oh, so they're and what are the price points for those kind of generators?
I don't know what the Hondas go for. Are they like $800? Maybe somebody can chime in here. I know my WEN, which is just gas, is probably $400 to $500.
Yeah, all right. Honda Whispers are great for late night blackouts. Neighbors won't complain.
If you just run an extension cord to your neighbor's house so they can have some lights, they shut up. They're totally right. If they can charge their phones off your generator, they don't give a shit what your generator noise is.
2 smaller ones is better than 1 big generator farm Frags.
That's what I have. I parallel mine, so they feed off the same whatever, and it does a pretty good job.
Ellery tip: make sure to adjust the frequency of the generator, since some furnaces won't start up if the frequency is way off from 60 megahertz.
That's interesting. Is that an electric furnace? I have a gas furnace. In the worst case, I was going to run in there and tie that thing in, but I didn't have to. Is that an electric furnace? And why won't it run? Interesting.
And get a flat power cord so you can close your door, farm Frags.
Or you just have a crap door and you just got enough space underneath like I have.
Well, that's good for the pH, though.
It is absolutely good. The air coming down the fireplace pushes in and makes your basement 55 degrees. And when it gets really, really cold, you have amazing pH.
John Wright: I live in a first floor apartment, so can't use a generator. So is a UPS the way to go?
That kind of sucks. Can you lock up a generator if you got a chain? If you're on the first floor, can you roll it through a slider or something like that?
What about an inverter for a car? Hook the car up.
You can do that, but you got to run your car, so that's an even longer extension. Just make sure that's a pure sine wave inverter, not a modified wave.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you can. A UPS is fine, but you're only going to get so much time out of that.
Yep. What else?
Gas furnace. Interesting.
Now I have a gas furnace.
Huh. I don't know this. Now I guess I need to understand that. Thanks.
Yeah.
I learned something.
I always learn something new every day, dude. It's like it's a beautiful thing,
You gotta.
Yeah, makes life so interesting. If you know everything, then what kind of fun can you have, really?
No. Dumb guy in the room. I like dumb guy in the room.
Yeah.
Works for me.
And let me say one other thing in terms of that, in that sort of vein. Like if you run into a reef keeper that says they got it all dialed in and they know the tank is like on autopilot, that's bullshit.
Right now it is, but that'll change.
That will change. It is never autopilot dialed in 100% of the time. That stuff just does not happen in reef keeping. And if you have that expectation, then you're in the wrong hobby.
See, John, you're missing the opportunity. Your neighbors might go mad, but just run them an extension cord. When they start yelling at you, just hold the extension cord up, and then they'll love you. You'll save their day.
Let's wrap it up by talking about corals. Anything out there that has got your fancy that you want besides the purple monster?
Yeah, besides your purple monster. It's like Beetlejuice, only different.
What's the future of that tank? What do you foresee down the road with that tank?
So because I put everything back in, I kind of know what I have. And I just got some more Pectinia. I love Pectinia. So I got my original Space Invader back from Lynn, because when I took that tank down, I cut up the Space Invader and I give it to Moki and Lynn. So I got a piece of the Space Invader back. I have her Rainbow Pectinia, and then I picked up another one for $20 from the Frag Fest, and I have no idea what color it's going to be, but it's in there. I'm an opportunistic coral grower kind of guy. Like whatever shows up, I'm pretty cool with it. Like I have no idea what I picked up from the Frag Fest, and we'll see what it turns into. And then I'll of course go over to I'll go over to Lynn's place, or I'll cherry pick off a Moki if he'll let me, and figure out what's going on there. I would love to get back the cherry bomb that I shared with Lynn when I took down the tank. Same for the dead Disney that I was growing forever. Lynn has one of your Disneys because I passed that along to her. I don't know, whatever shows back up. I don't have a lot of room for SPS. I probably have room for 3 frags or so and to grow them out. And then other than that, the tank's pretty happy and I'm just going to leave it be. What I like doing is just growing excess, and then I mean, Lynn and Moki have both yelled at me, but I put them up on Instagram, or I put them up on the local Facebook group for free, and then people come over and get it. What I like doing is trading, and I don't have to trade for corals, although I enjoy that. What I do is I'll put something out in a cooler out on my driveway, and I was like, whatever you want to do, it's up to you. So
that's cool.
Sometimes corals show up, like that anemone, that green anemone that has red tips, that showed up in my cooler one day. I've had steak show up in my cooler. I had a sweet steak. I went out there and I opened a cooler and there was a steak, and I was like, hell yeah, that's what I want to do. I want to trade, right? I mean, you can roll reefers code, but it ain't got to be corals. Chicken has showed up. Beer has showed up multiple times. So I just put it out there to people. If you want this, and like I have a green Monty that's incredibly hideous, but it came from the Baltimore Aquarium, the National Aquarium in Baltimore, because a friend of mine interned there, so he brought it back. Actually, same for the leather I have, the Devil's Hand leather came from there. But people want to have this because it you can go see it at the aquarium, and then you can go, yeah, I got to have my tank. But whatever, I put it out there, and whatever shows up, shows up. If nothing shows up, that's cool. If a steak shows up, bitch it. It works. I like it.
I love that, man. Reefers code, you just expand that just beyond corals. Pectinia. I gotta start fragging my Space Invaders Pectinia. Is it as easy as just taking some scissors and chopping off a branch and sticking it on a plug?
Totally. I use scissors. So, and then a little bit of iodine, and then you glue down the cut side. So you're gonna have your colony that ends up having cut side shown, and that's fine. Dip it
with iodine.
Give it some iodine, and then put it back in the tank. But yeah, Pectinia is nothing but sharp scissors because the skeleton's pretty thin, and then glue cut side down.
Super glue. Is that what you're using?
Oh yeah, super glue. That's all I use.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, I've got super glue. I've got Champions. Oh crap, I can't remember what it is. And that's awesome for like simple dry fragging. If I have frags and I've got Champion, put it in there real quick because I feel dumb. I can't remember. But you glue it down, and that stuff works really well too.
Oh, you're talking about the new stuff?
Yes, the new stuff that neither one of us old guys can remember right now.
Oh man, what I haven't. I haven't really used it yet.
Me too.
I haven't used it. It's yes.
It'll pop up here in a second. But yeah, that works great too. That makes it easy when especially if you're working with dry frags or dry rock, that kind of thing. Right. Gluing those together. When it's wet, it's a little funky, but CTAC. There it is. Thank you.
Yes. I tried it when it was wet, and I didn't have a great experience with it. So I need to.
If it's right, dry frag plug, it works fantastic. It's awesome.
So wet,
it's just right away.
It's like I guess you got to like kind of adapt a little bit there and figure it out. I know.
Yep.
I figure.
Watch their videos. The videos make it really clear. It works really well. But for Pectinia, I've not tried CTAC. I've only used super glue.
Gotcha.
And I like that bulk BRS stuff because it comes in a big old bottle, and I keep it in the fridge, and it makes it easy.
Yeah, you know what I've been using to glue down large fragments of colonies that I'll chop up is the Jurassic glue with the accelerator. I like that stuff.
I don't know this. What's Jurassic glue?
It's the stuff that they had in BRS, their videos in terms of putting together their dry rockscapes. And you hit it with some accelerator. It's almost like an instant bond.
Oh, Jurassic gel.
That's it. Jurassic gel.
You got to say adhesive, like Mrs. Doubtfire. Like you put your teeth back in.
Yeah,
adhesive.
that's
interesting.
That's good stuff. And I actually use that.
Okay.
I have to actually use that stuff to put together my dry rockscape in the rebooted 187 gallon tank, and been dealing with algae issues ever since. That's neither here nor there. Actually,
we can go back to talk. Let's talk about the peninsula.
I think I'm turning a corner though on that deal. So, all right, man. Well, listen, dude, I've kept you long enough, and this has always been a pleasure, Jim, talking Reef with you, pleasure. Dude. Any final words before we sign off?
Always appreciate being on. Thank you, Keith. You're so cool. I got nothing to share. I just do what I do, and if anybody has any recommendations, I'm absolutely willing to listen. Share data. Share your data.
Yeah. Yes. That's great way to wrap it up. Let's all share for sure. All right, man. Well, listen. Thanks again, Jim, for being on again. I also want to thank the sponsors, both Bulk Reef Supply and Ecotech Marine, for sponsoring the live stream, and all you folks out there tuning in. Also want to give a big thank you to Paul, Great Bearded Reef, for moderating. He's also the president of the Boston Reefers Society. Please join and support your local reefing clubs. They are so important to this hobby. I also want to let you know that all episodes of Rappin With ReefBum are available as podcasts on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Amazon. My next Rappin With ReefBum live stream will be next Thursday, May 11th, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with Mike Paletta. So that'll be another great show. If you want to check out the full upcoming schedule of guests, visit reefbum.com under the YouTube section. And I talked about earlier, I will be having a live coral show on YouTube on Saturday, May 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I just fragged the crap out of some corals in my peninsula tank. So
yeah, man.
There's 25 to 40% off those frags. So there's going to be some good deals to be had. Anyway, until next time, be safe and be well, and we will